Welcome to this video. Thanks so much for tuning in, sharing in this now moment with myself and with one another. If you haven't seen these videos before, welcome. Welcome back if you have. My intention is unity and oneness and the highest levels of love light. This is just going to be a little inflow video. Just the energies are pretty strong. Today is the 20th of September. I've actually recorded several other videos that I'm a little behind on posting. I'll share. One of them is going to be story time. I'm going to start posting more and more about what I've written over the years. There's a lot that's been coming through in my world. And one of the things that I have been getting messages about and questions about also is AI. I've been getting questions about that. I've been getting questions about, of course, what's happening in the political realms and in the collective. I get asked questions about that a lot. Lots of different questions. And so I kind of want to start addressing some of those that are coming up in session, as I always do, to kind of share with anybody else who's watching that might benefit from some of the information I've received during those sessions. One of the things I've noticed coming up a lot is just about the body. So my intention is to do a video, a series of videos. I did one recently on ascension symptoms again, and I think that's what I'm going to be labeling that series. I'm hoping to get to it this weekend, but we'll see. There's actually a lot that I want to cover because there's simple and then there's more advanced things that we can do to assist us through what's happening in our bodies. One of the things that's been coming up a lot is we've got a lot of people who are connecting their brain hemispheres, which is great. The more we connect our left and right hemispheres of our brain, the more in sync we are with the universe, with our bodies, with what is happening in our world and reality, to become more fluid with the changes that are coming. And when I say the changes that are coming, there's all kinds of changes that are coming. It isn't just one thing. It isn't just one person who's going to step in and change everything. It's a plethora of changes from my perspective that are coming. And from another perspective, they're already here. They're already in the works. We've already landed this higher dimensional field. And the biggest message I get, and I just did a channeling yesterday that I'll probably share tomorrow, we'll see what order I'm going in, is that we have a tendency to constrict ourselves or feel constricted right now because we are operating from a higher bandwidth, but we don't realize that we are. And so it's belief. So we're kind of held within this old system. And I think that's kind of where we're going to go with this. So breaking out of the old system. Sometimes it's just by believing that we already are. So dropping into the heart, taking a deep breath in, just getting kind of settled into the body to feel the messages that are coming in and the energy behind them. And so many of us are caught up in the old paradigm, or we are witnessing with compassion many that are caught up in the old paradigm, or they still feel like they are entangled within that particular matrix, within that particular timescape, within that particular landscape, landing page, domain, access point, grid system, matrix, reality, dimension, whatever it is that we label as the reality that we have been existing within. We are being invited to recognize that there is a tri-unification happening. And as all of this unfolds, meaning the new merging with the old and the old working its way out, and this is a play on words for oftentimes the working its way out comes from being brought to the surface, working its way out of the body through purge and detoxification. So I'm seeing a lot of things here. I'm seeing work itself out as far as exercise. I'm seeing being pushed out through doing the work, through, so all of that. Much of what is being worked out is exercising many of the things that have been hiding, one might say, between the, I'm seeing in the basement, in the attic, and in the attic. Like, I'm just seeing a lot. I'm hearing bats in the belfry. I don't know what that is, but that's kind of what I'm tuning into. Ooh, bats in the belfry. So there's a lot coming through about the brain. If you look up the brain and you look up a bat, the bat cave, going into the cave, the sphenoid bone, the butterfly, it's a whole other. That'll come through when I share what I've been writing about, maybe in Saturday or Sunday's post. Or whenever I share it. So as we allow ourselves to move through this time, in this moment in time, as we allow ourselves to move through this momentous moment in time, we must recognize that the old paradigm is grasping for our attention, grasping at straws, grasping to suck us back into the old paradigm. And there are many who are feeling as if they must stay there in order to feel safe, in order to stay recognizable. Oh, this is a play on words. So what I'm seeing is to recognize themselves, to be recognized, ego, for they do not realize that they are changing or they have the ability to change. For the human body and the human mechanisms and the mechanics, or the way that we work and the way that we flow. So I'm just going to roll right into this. I'm kind of holding back, so this might be a little all over the place, meant to be felt. And it just as we use these words and languages that do not necessarily have a linear definition, we are also merging with a reality that does not work in a linear definition in the same way or in the same paradigm or within the same spin that we used to. For as we allow ourselves to move through this dimensional exchange, we exchange information new and old and new. We refresh, we hit the refresh button. We learn how to commingle in a different way. For those who cannot or will not, that is their way. And we must learn to step aside, to step out of their way. Furthermore, I'm hearing to furthermore allow us to not get in our own way, because we're all one. So we're all one living organism. So if we're trying to block another person from doing what they feel they need to do, granted, obviously this is just about living life. I'm going to vote for this person. I'm going to eat this food, whatever it is. And we get all bent out of shape. That's a play on words. We are the ones that are actually stepping on our own toes, because it isn't about them. It is about us moving in a new pattern recognition, recognizing the old patterns and allowing the new patterns to change our circumference, to change how expansive we may feel within this circle of life, lighting up the circle from our own inner light, allowing ourselves to ignite our spark rather than trying to deflate or undo someone else's point of view or perspective, allowing ourselves to gather our energy and work on our own directive, our own timescape, our own landscape, our own landing page, our own architecture. For we cannot work on someone else's scaffolding when ours has only just begun. We must be in a place of, I'm hearing unidex solidarity. For as we allow ourselves to move with a definitive purpose in the heart-centered focus within that heart-centered exchange, connecting with the brain, we shift our focus to more important things without judging another person's state of affairs or things that they may feel are important to manage. We let go of the need to manage others' affairs. We let go of the need to manage that which it is that we feel is fair. By us presenting our own model and working within that, we create a solid, unified energy bank, a resource from which others can draw from through our example, our exemplification of energy, through us holding a certain pattern and frequency that cuts through the distortion, that cuts through other people's relevancy. So this is a play on words with people that they feel like they're important. They feel like they have to be heard. They feel like they have to speak their voice. And we're not here to stop them from that. They feel that makes them important. And I'm looking at this as more of like the people that are in the hierarchy, right? That we're seeing on the media or in television unfolding. I'm hearing self-serving importance. I'm relevant. What I have to say is more relevant than what you have to say. So I'm hearing that is an old paradigm that many are not recognizing has lost its potency. It's lost its shine. I'm seeing dime, dollar, shiny dollar. Ooh, this is a lot of layers here. There's a lot of energy coming in right now. It's probably because we're coming up on the equinox, and anytime there's an astrological alignment, I get everything here all at once now. Shuku we nishi. So as we allow ourselves to move in our own unification, unifying our own source stream, unifying our own codes of abundance, we allow this to accumulate in such a way that dispels the other waves, the other ways, the other energies. It breaks apart the patterns of differentiation. This is a play on words. I'm being called to stop just for a moment. You guys, I just have to laugh. I've been in writing mode, so it's personal to share the different layers that I work through. But the writing mode is very wordy. In case you guys have seen this before, you know, and it's very coded. So I'm being called to play with this for a moment because this is going to become more and more relevant when we're dealing with AI. And I know that sounds like how? I'm still figuring it out, but we're figuring it out together. So there's something about the way of our communication that is going to have to be up-leveled in order to create with the new realities that are including AI. And that's a whole other story. But let me just get back to this differentiation. So the easy definitions to that are the obvious, but as soon as I said it, I knew it was something a little bit deeper. So we're holding our space, okay, through our own distinction. We're being distinct. It's a contrast. It's a difference, and it can be felt. It's palpable. And the realities also have this differentiation going on. We can sense when we're hemisynced, our left and right hemispheres are in sync, when we're in our hearts, when we're in that space of flow, we are then able to sync up with what I'm hearing is the new motherboard. And this is a play on words as well. The new way or level, we're leveling up, we then interact with reality in a different way. We interact with language in a different way. We interact with each other in a different way. This creates a stronger mechanism of differentiation. Now, if I go into differentiation, is a method used to compute the range of change of a function with respect to its input. The rate of change is known as the derivative. So what I'm seeing, my interpretation of that is, well, there's a lot. basically how quickly we're changing how we function in our reality. We're using this to compute how quickly the rate of change. Oh, it's a play on words with rate as well. This has to do with finances. This has to do with ratio, energy. Oh, I've got goosebumps everywhere. So the input, we're inputting how we respond, how we interact with each other, what we think about, what we talk about, how we exchange information. This is determining the method that's used to compute the rate of change. So this is palpable, meaning if there's enough of us doing this with a strength in numbers, that's even a play on words, because it isn't about just how many of us are doing it. It's a matter of how strong we're doing it. And when I say strength, it isn't a matter of aggressiveness and really being buff and kind of get out of my way. Because of earlier in this message, clearly that's not what we, my collective of me, were alluding to. So what happens is it changes how quickly things change just by us staying on track. And this has to do with us, again, hemisync, our heart, and using all of this. And I'm being called to play with this a little bit more. So I'll probably come back to this. How many times do I say that? But I am going to share screen. So this is what I do when I write. That's why I don't ever post anything lately, because it takes so long. All right, so I'm sharing screen right now. I'm on Wikipedia, and we went into derivative because this is where it took me. So our differentiation is essentially determining where we're going and how fast we're going. And I just wanted to show this, the graph of a function, okay? And I don't understand calculus, clearly, but from my perspective, I'm just gonna read this out loud. The derivative shows, or this goes back to differentiation, the sensitivity of change of a function's output with respect to the input. The derivative of the position of a moving object with respect to time is the object's velocity. This measures how quickly the position of the object changes when time advances. Boom. I could just do a whole video on this. Linear transformation, the Jacobian matrix. Ooh, goosebumps on that. So I get asked a lot, when is everybody else going to wake up? Do you guys ever wonder that? It's up to us. And it isn't up to when everybody else is waking up. It's up to us holding our energy. And this is what's going to affect our entire reality. I don't know what's going on with my light, but I'm just going to leave it. It's getting dark in here. So essentially, we are creating this graph. We are creating this matrix. We are creating this reality. And this is what is affecting linearity. Or we can allow others to create that for us, and then we follow in their footsteps, which is the old paradigm from one perspective. Although we do help each other, it's not to say that we're walking in our shoes and our shoes only and all alone. We are a collective of energy that is part of the input that determines the output in the differentiation. And I'm sure there's more, so maybe I'll do another video on that. So we are being called to manage our input and also manage, I'm hearing manage, like be mature, our output. So not wasting our energy worrying about or talking about things with other individuals who are completely unaware or uninterested in making any of the steps that are required to be a better human being. And I say better with love, because it doesn't mean that they're bad people because they're not aware of the ascension process or what we might be working towards as humanity. It just means that their energy level from this message, there's a lot that means, but their output isn't as strong as our output. And this is not a hierarchy. We're not better because we have more energy than they do. But to be aware of that we are having that big of an impact. And again, it's the power of love. When two or more gather, it's two people who are in their hearts, who are in using the flow, right? The Jedis have a lot more power than someone who's just completely unaware and uninterested in what that even means. However, that ripple effect of that output, that outflow, has a vibration and it has a frequency. And what I'm going back into flow right now, one never knows the impact that one has when we are in this state of flow, and how expansive the tendrils, the action at a distance, the tendrils reach out, and how far they reach out to. For this interaction that we have as me and you creates an energy board. It creates a game piece. It creates a way in which we play with this particular piece in, oh, I'm seeing peace in time, like peace, peace begins with me, but there's something else with this. Oh, time piece is what I'm hearing. So recognizing that the more energy we allow ourselves to hold, not like hold on to and hoard, but just to hold space, meaning coherence, consistency, the longer wave and signal we send out, and the faster the implication, that's a play on words, implication, application, amplification. So mixing all that together has, it's a bigger impact zone, it's a broader impact zone. And so we are being called and invited to hone in on our own zone, find our zone, stay in our zone, allow ourselves to be in that space as often as possible, with as much currency as possible, electricity as possible. And how do we do this? By staying out of everyone else's lane, by not worrying about how, what, who, why, where, and when. There is the human that is in all of us that has those concerns and thoughts and patterns that come up that are triggered and stimulated by all of the other patterns that are all around us through programming, through sound, through music, art, dance, and it can be utilized to continue to program us back into an old habit pattern, an old paradigm. I'm seeing the wheels on the bus go round and round, hearing, and I'm seeing a school bus. Like, here we go again. And how many times do we have to go through this to learn, right? Do we want to get back on that school bus and go back to kindergarten? Or are we like, hey, we're gonna rock till the wheels fall off? So no wheels, no training wheels. But this makes it very important for us to find that balance, because when we get off balance, we may have a bigger impact than we realize. Ooh, dun, dun, dun. No pressure in that. So what I'm being called is right mind, right heart, right body. So it's basically finding what's right for us. And this isn't a judgment thing, wrong, right. Oh, I shouldn't, or I should. Getting out of all of that is part of the old programming, that judgment around ourselves. I talked about this in my other video, beating ourselves up, shame, or, oh, I wish, living in the past. Let it all go. Even if it was 10 minutes ago and we ate an entire pint of ice cream. Oh well, that doesn't mean we need to continue to do that. Recognize, right? I talk about this a lot. Acknowledge that we did that. Recognize that we don't feel so good. So we don't continue to create that old pattern and that old habit, because our relationship with our body is very important right now. So, sorry, I had a little bit of a distraction, but our bodies are changing. And I'm going to continue to talk a lot about that in these upcoming videos, because people are feeling the effects from our environment, but also just what's naturally occurring in evolution, from another perspective, from my perspective. It's all connected. So when we go through these, the more we are in touch with how we're feeling, not even necessarily as much as why we're feeling, but it is how we're feeling. And the reason I'm saying that is because oftentimes, myself included, over the years, I've over analyzed everything. Why? And it's even in not only what was going on with me physically, but also emotionally, and also what's going on out there. Like, why is this happening? When? Again, those questions. And it's natural that we have those questions. But right now, this particular piece in time, I don't know why that keeps, but that's what I'm hearing, timepiece. I'm seeing one of those old-fashioned clocks that you hang from a chain. It's really important to maximize our input, what we're putting into our bodies, meaning paying attention to that, how it makes us feel when we eat what it is that we're eating. And that, what I'm hearing, is what we're ingesting. So it's not just about food, it's energy, and it comes from all kinds of sources. And so we're purging, I'm kind of in flow in and out here. We're purging a lot of what's been kept as reserves, we'll say. I'm going to hang on to that for later in case I need it, is what I'm hearing. So what happens is that now is the time to use it. Now is the time for us to utilize our energy in the best way that we can. And let me go a little deeper into that. That doesn't mean I've got all this energy, so I have to accomplish everything right now all at once, even though everything is here right now all at once. It is managing our reserves. Whereas before, we might have thought, okay, I'm going to go for a 10-mile run. I don't know. But that's an example of, and then burning out our charge means we're unable to accomplish some of the minor tasks that we set out to accomplish that could actually give us more peace, is what I'm hearing. So it's really important. So I'm being called to talk a little bit about what I've been doing personally. And again, I'll talk about this later in the physical videos, but I just had a funny picture of Olivia Newton-John, bless her, playing out in my head of that old 80s video of Let's Get Physical. My goodness. So I'd have to dress up in some 80s, rock some 80s outfits here coming up soon in honor of paying attention to the physical body. Anyways, I get distracted. So what happens is when we are in a space of flow, it's almost as if our body, so we'll start with that. It's almost as if our body just doesn't want it. So we won't reach necessarily for that cookie, because we know all of a sudden our body's like, nope. Or we'll take a few bites and it won't have the same flavor. We just aren't interested. We might find that old things that we used to love to eat are no longer something that are palatable for us. So that's one thing. I have been eating a lot of healthier foods. And you might think, oh, you probably eat healthy foods all the time. No, I don't. I go like this, like most other people do. However, I find myself doing that a lot less often now because I can't afford not to eat healthy lately. When we have a heightened Kundalini activation, when we have a lot going on that is triggering us, when we have a lot going on that is requiring us to focus, it requires more energy. And we can't run on, what's the company name, Duncan? Really, that's not something that's not sustainable all of the time. So once in a while, but we're going to start to notice when we feel depleted, and we're being called to pay attention to that. That's part of our inner awareness. And some people might think that that's pretty basic, but it isn't. For a lot of people, you might be surprised. On the flip side, there's a lot of people who are very physically aware, They're very on point with what they need to do with their bodies, but they're not aware at all of the mental stamina. Or it might be that they're fine physically, mentally, but emotionally they're not, So it's a matter of us coming into wholeness and unity and oneness with our entire being. And that seems like a large order to fill, speaking of fast food, but it isn't when we just allow ourselves to be present with our energy. And sometimes that takes practice, and sometimes it's the easiest thing to do. Bless you. Okay. And so we must look at this as a full package deal. We must look at this as a way of us opening our entire gift center versus shutting down certain components in order to compromise. And this is a play on words. What I'm being shown is a lot of people. All right, so I'm being called to go back to my personal experience. I've started food prepping, which I've never used to do. I've started to recognize the things that are in my diet that I eat way too much of, even if they are healthy. Started to recognize some of the things that I think of as healthy are not necessarily giving me the nutrients that I need. Okay, let's take that into the next level. Okay, so some examples. Okay, I'll go for it. My guidance team is like, keep going. For example, if we eat a lot of pasta, we eat a lot of breads, then we eat a lot of, we eat spaghetti, pizza, a lot of Italian food. Let's use that. I don't want to pick on Italian food because it's so easy and delicious, but let's say we eat a lot of that and we throw a salad in with it. And we think that's pretty healthy. It might be. However, if we analyze it, it may not be. We can't just have a jar of spaghetti sauce, and even if it's chickpea flour pasta 3 times a week, or twice a week even, and then mix that in with, if we're eating meat all the time, where are we getting our vitamin C? Just these basic things. And sometimes it takes us being a little linear to think about it for us to then go, oh, okay, that's why I was feeling that way. Like we might have to just look up some of this stuff online, but pay attention to how the body feels when we eat it. If we're feeling tired, we might need more sleep. Okay, I'm being called to get off the physical and go a little bit into the nutrients of what we're watching and listening to. Things are ramping up in everywhere. We're going to start feeling the heat, is what I'm hearing. We're going to start feeling the animosity. Oh, this is a play on words. We're potentially going to start feeling that from coworkers, family members, things that we're witnessing in the collective, going to the grocery store, whatever it might be, driving. So these things are part of the out of balance energetics that we are in the process of purging. And I know I'm hearing some people go, well, we've been purging it for years. Well, we're going to continue to purge it. So we can either stay on that old school bus, sing those same songs, participate in the same activities, go to the same locations, eat the same food, sit with the same people, or we can shift into something different. And I'm being invited to talk about letting go of the fear of different. Some people are like, I don't want to do anything. I like my life. And it might be working. Fantastic. Things might be that you just keep on trucking and it's perfect. Doesn't apply to everyone. This is just applicable to whoever it's applicable to. So let us change directions just for a moment in this particular presentation. Or in this particular region of space, there are galactic activities that are potentially going to be more apparent. Wasn't planning on going there, so let me just play with that for a minute. And just as I'm hearing, like, this is part of what the message is it may be that unexpected things come up. So the more we have our energy reserves in place, whew, the easier it will be to moderate and to stay balanced. And so I might actually cut here and go into a separate video for this, so we'll see. This galactic activity will not necessarily be something that we think it is. And so, without going into too many details that are unnecessary and potentially irrelevant, let us focus on what will be relevant for the collective. And while I am tempted, me, to ask questions such as exactly what it is that will be transpiring, we are inviting everyone listening right now to recognize that what is going to happen is still in the works. For we are the ones that are sending out the signal. And so, therefore, there have been huge pockets of collectives of people like ourselves who are shifting so rapidly that things that were in the works no longer are. And so we might be shaking our heads going, well, how did this happen when I thought that was going to happen? And we invite you to stay on track, not to get lost in the shuffle, for the music is not in the exact order that you might think it is. The songs may not be sounding exactly the same as they once did. So, getting out of the need to hang on or stay harnessed to a particular story is very important right now. And this message seems as if it is missing some components, yet it isn't, because each and every person who is interacting and exchanging energy with this particular reality system at this particular time, in this particular moment of movement, is being invited to recognize that while there is an order to things, the collective experience is shifting again and again and again so rapidly that the order may change so rapidly that some may forget that there was even an order to begin with. We play with this for a moment. For the idea of multidimensionality is difficult for many to wrap their minds around. And I'm seeing this as a play on words, like that's my reality, that's my belief, this is mine. Like, we're being called to kind of let some of that go. And so this creates distortions when we try to hang on to something that we had really hoped for, that we had really thought was going to land. Man, I think I know what they're talking about. And while there are still potentials for some of these things unfolding, the potentials again are shifting so rapidly that if we try to watch the trees go by, I'm seeing a car driving really, really fast, and we're trying to look at every single tree would go by, we will lose our way. We will lose our space. And we are invited to see the forest through the trees and recognize that each individual tree that we are passing by at such a rapid pace is not necessarily worth stopping to photograph or to hold on to or to understand. As just as when we are driving, we do not try to stop and understand all of the landmarks along the way. It is more important for us to focus on our destination, to focus also on not just the future or where we are headed, but the actual driving momentum, shifting gears, turning the wheel, paying attention, and just being present with what is in that moment. So we use this analogy for many people are trying too hard to do everything. I'm seeing people looking at the trees and being on their phone and worrying about if the store is going to close. They're not going to make it there in time. This is all a metaphor, by the way. So when we allow ourselves to take a breath, acknowledge what we're feeling, recognize that that particular potential that maybe we expected to unfold may not have held. Okay, that's a play on words too, but may not have held as much I'm seeing so much. Bottom line is, top line is, there are all things are merging. Everything keeps shifting rapidly. I'm seeing rapid eye motion. It's a matter of us reprogramming and getting out of our own way and not trying to hang on to even the things that we might be receiving downloads about and information about, and that includes me. For many people have relied on reality being a certain way, and they've shown up in a certain way in order to match that reality for so long. It is part of our program. It is part of our map that we follow. And we are the map makers. We are the ones creating the new routes. We are creating new routes within our body right now as we listen and tune into this energetic field that we are sharing this message from. For within this field, there are many different avenues which can be expressed, felt, seen, and interacted with. Just when I said that, I felt a lot. Wow, a lot. And so even as this message could go into all of those angles, positions, realities, dimensions, timelines, for this particular transmission, we seek to establish a sense of direction. For we are each and individually creating our own map, yet there is a divine blueprint that is always at play, an architecture that we are each creating in a collective experience. And so staying within this new field of awareness and lightness of, I'm seeing lightheartedness, joy, gratitude, will allow us to combine our resources to channel our energy in such a way that what it is that we create is more than anything we may have heard of before. And that is the message. There's so much more, but I'm going to end on that note. I feel like I went a few different directions, and there's so many different angles I could take really from this particular message, and I'm just so grateful. So until the next video, I will be again sharing the Let's Get Physical, the Ascension Symptoms videos again, hopefully soon. They do take time, so and focus in those videos. So I have to set up time for that, and also more about the channeled writings, because again, how we interact with these different realities, there's a lot of different things and tools that we're not even aware of that we have as humans. And writing and channeling and doing energy work is one of them, because we're feeding that into the systems that we're interacting with on a regular basis. You guys, I just want to say, everything we interact with on our phones and the technologies on our computers, I mean, it's part of what we use every day. So we're being really called to use our tools in a different way, which is something that a lot of us are going to be working together on in the near future, I have a feeling. I'm not just talking about us, whoever's watching this video, but humans. I see people getting together and saying, hey, let's do this. And I discovered this. And it is about community, resources, tools. It's about us using our left and right hemispheres of our brain and our heart. Okay, I could keep going. In love and light, guys. Namaste.